Welcome everyone to the Flux Dev Meeting, April 22nd.
Hello. Do you have anything on the agenda for today? Oh, we had some leftovers from last meeting. Mateus was supposed to tell us where we at with Helm SDK, Helm controller, and all the Helm related issues.
Yeah, we can start with that.
Cool.
So, yesterday we shipped patch release for Flux 2.8, so 2.8.6, with fixes for all the known issues in Helm so far. So there's no more open bugs in Flux relating to the upgrade to Helm 4 at this point. And there's also Helm has merged all our PRs in the main branch for those fixes. So this means that if like when they release Helm 4.2, more or less 20 days from now, it's staged for May 13. We can evaluate if we can upgrade to Helm 4.2 in Flux 2.8 so that we can delete the fork. I am really hoping we can do that.
Yeah, we need to analyze all the things that will be merged and included in 4.2 and see if anything can change the behavior of Helm controller. If we determine nothing changes the behavior and only from our perspective only fixes, then we can do a patch and not end up with 2.8 forever on the fork. That would be really good. Because now we have a situation where source controller depends on upstream Helm because the bugs that we fixed are at apply time, build and apply time, which happens in Helm controller, and only Helm controller is using the fork. Uh, so, but I think Mateus, worst case scenario, let's say 4.2 make some changes in the behavior and we determine that will be something that we can't include in a patch release. To not leave Flux 2.8 on the fork. We could pin it on a commit from upstream that contains your last pull request, maybe.
Well, yeah, it was merged yesterday, so if there's things like
Yeah, yeah.
4.2
So
is
so let's say we compare what's in 4.1, what we have in source controller, the latest 4.1 version in source controller, and we take all the things that got merged until your pull request. And if those are, let's say, only fixes and other things that are changing the behavior will happen from this moment on, we can actually switch to upstream and pin it on to the Git SHA and delete the fork.
yeah,
Also with
assuming that like any bad things only come after my PR, right? Which it's not entirely
which
likely
we don't
because
know.
my PR, yeah, like because my PR was merged only yesterday and they're almost on the end of the cycle. So there could have been merged things like
Yeah.
for 2 months now.
Also, I'm not sure we can actually delete the fork
You want old
because
versions to be able to build, right? That's the
yeah,
concern.
we need to archive it. We can't delete the fork. Well, once you do a go get of any package to add it like let's say you fork something, then to use that fork in a different project, you do go get of that fork. Once you do the first go get that everybody does anywhere, it gets stored in the Go proxy cache as an immutable artifact. That's why people that are deleting repos do not necessarily break uh, the build of the projects unless you do the build with the proxy disabled. So if you do the build with the proxy disabled that goes directly to the Git source and pulls the code, then of course, if that source is no longer there, it's over. But the proxy and the cache that the Go team maintains does not propagate deletes. Like the first go get will store that version, and even if whatever you do on your repo, let's say you delete the uh, tag and you put the restore the tag with a different code, that version that you first released, it will never be deleted from the proxy. It's and that's also an issue for some projects. For example, in the Go YAML, in the YAML implementation, there was one patch release which had a bad import or something, so you couldn't actually use that version. But someone did a go get at some point before uh, the version was deleted. So deleting the version had no effect. Still, people will get the bad version. So the what so it's impossible to delete it. So you have this detract uh, keyword that you can put in your Go mode and say, oh, this version is there, don't use it. It's not a good version, but it's impossible. Like Google or yeah, Google maintains the cache. They will not delete things. I'm guessing, I don't know if it's malware or something like that. In extreme cases, maybe they will do it if there is a security issue. But if you did a mistake and you release something bad and someone does a go get, it's done. Like you can't remove it anywhere. Uh, and of course the why they did is in order for people that are using packages to be able to rebuild things even if the package source has been deleted. But we are not going to delete it. We can archive it, right? Update the description, document in the description. Yes, this was used in Flux between 281 and 28.
And it may be used again. We may unarchive it, right? So
Yes, yes. Yeah, but we are definitely not deleting it. Anyway, we should actually write in the description which versions of Flux, before we archive it, which versions of Flux are using it, right? So it's clear to everybody. Another um, problem with using forks is that CV scanners will not figure out it's a fork. A CV scanner has no clue we forked Helm and 99.99% of the code is the same, and we only added some patches, small patches on top. So if they say there is a CV in upstream Helm, but you are using the Flux fork, the scanners will not figure out the CVs there because it's a different entity, it's a different URL, it's a different organization, and so on. So that also creates a problem. You maybe you are running vulnerable code, but the scanner will never tell you because it can't figure out that it's a fork. So due to all of this, of course, we really want to get rid of it as soon as possible. The moment we can, we are going to do it.
And like the thing is with like getting rid of it in a patch is the best because otherwise we leave it like we have 3 supported versions, right, in Flux. So you have to live with it for 3 minor versions. That's almost a year, maybe a year. So if we get rid of
It's
it
a
in a
year, yeah.
patch, it ends faster, right? So
Yeah.
we need to get rid of it in a patch.
Yeah, maybe we should start looking at what will actually get in. 265 commits.
If we pin to a commit, is that the same for the scanner? Will the scanner know? Like it doesn't do a Git comparison, right? The scanners do
If
send for
we
that.
no, so if we pin to a commit from upstream, that's fine because the scanner will identify the correct package.
Hmm. So you can see that uh, the hash of the commit is less than a patched version of a CD.
Well, if you do go get for a hash, it's not just the hash there, right? Go get uses semver for the
Right,
patch,
right, yeah.
right? So it takes the uh, closest semver to your commit and it bumps the patch version on it, like it's in the future. But you have the major and the minor, right? So if the scanner is smart enough, it should, uh, you should figure out that if there is a CV in 4.2 and you depend on 4.1 dot whatever patch version, you are affected, right? But anyway, it first of all, it knows what code you are using, that you are using the Helm code, which is very important. It's not a fork. But yeah, I'm looking at the commits in from the from 4.1 till now, and there are many commits with the depend about stuff like that. Um, there aren't actually 265 commits that add new code. Uh,
Cool.
Around the Verolint fixes and test fixes and probably 50, 60 depend about commits. So I think we can filter those and look at what really matters.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah, also doc fixes. Yeah, we can definitely try to use AI on this, give it the whole list so it filters out dependable and all the bots, right? Because we don't care about all the dependency bumps. Those are not, those can't be breaking changes.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's good. Cool. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
so other things. In 286, right,
yeah,
we added the FutureGate migration API version to customize controller.
yeah.
And so we got reports from people that were trying to upgrade
External secrets to
the, ex-
2.3.
the external secrets. So external secrets moved from beta to V1, right? This
So
was
it's
the
actually
change.
the timeline is like they were already on V1 a while back, but in this 2.3 they released a new field with a default. And people still had even though like 2.2 for example already had V1, people had migrated to V1, but due to how field managers work, they still had V1 beta 1 in the managers, even though the manifest was already V1.
I think we have this problem in Crossplane too. The Kubernetes provider doesn't, or maybe it's just the version that I'm on and it's fixed in a later version, but
What do you mean? With Flux?
the Well, yes. So in a Kubernetes object of V1 Alpha 1, there is a readiness field in the spec, and in V1 Alpha 2, it has to be set to an empty object before you can delete the field. I'm not exactly sure how it happens, but I have this issue in production right now because we're still upgrading to Crossplane V2. So if anybody submits a resource with V1 Alpha 1, it's valid until the second reconcile, and then we get an invalid, your spec.readiness can't be set to null or something like that. And I'm sure if we actually upgraded to the latest version of Crossplane, it would be gone. But I think it's the sort of thing that the Flux operator fixes for Flux and only for Flux.
Yeah, so there are I don't think upgrading crossplane will solve anything because once what we observed with external secrets provider as well and other and Flux objects in the past um, is the fact that add once you remove a field or you add a new field with a default, if you had previous versions on the cluster, and this is not a Flux thing, is like the controller that is responsible for that custom resource, crossplane controller X, writes to the object the status, right? It needs to update the status. When it writes to the object, in the manage field, Kubernetes API will track who did the change, crossplane controller, for which version, V1 Alpha 1. When you upgrade, those old versions are still there in the manage resource, in the manage fields. Then when you want to change something in the custom resource and make use of new fields, or you want to remove a field that was removed, what the Kubernetes API validator does, it picks the oldest version from the manage fields and try to do the validation with that one. And that will fail because the field does not allow null, or the field was renamed, or whatever, is not compatible with the older version. Even if your intention is not to continue using the older version, is to switch to the new version. But due to the fact that the API looks in all the versions and picks the oldest one to do the final validation, the validation will fail. Now, we added this feature gate that does the following. Before Flux tries to do a dry run, before it touches the object, queries the object from the cluster. And this is customized controller. And what it does, it looks at what version am I supposed to apply now? This one, V1 Alpha 2. Are other versions in the manage fields, not stored there by me, but any other controller, does it have older versions? If it finds older versions, it patches them in place to the newest version. And it writes a patch to the Kubernetes API, which is not an apply, it's a patch. So it will not trigger the validation with the old version and so on. So we basically upgrade only the manage fields to the latest version. Then dry run will work, then apply will work. When the cross-plane controller comes and writes the status, it will write the status with the new version, right? If you have upgraded the controller as well. So we are not like if you have this weird situation where, I've seen people that are splitting CRDs from controllers and they upgrade the CRDs and they forget to upgrade the controllers and so on. If you do this kind of stuff and you split the two and they are not in sync, this problem can come back, Flux will patch it again and so on, right? And it will happen until you upgrade everything. So I think if you enable this feature gate and you upgrade also crossplane everywhere, the errors will go away. I'm guessing right now you see a dry run error where it tells you, oh, whatever, readiness is not allowed, or readiness nil is not a valid value, or something like that.
But essentially a dry run error.
For
Kingdom?
sure, it's a dry run error. I don't think it
Yeah,
can be
here's what it
anything
says.
else.
It says object, it's kubernetes.crossplane.io. External secrets is invalid. Spec.readiness. It's completely random that it has external secrets in there. I don't think it has anything to do with what we're talking about. Invalid value, null, spec.readiness, and body must be of type object null. And it is
And
a dry
at the
run.
beginning is a dry run error.
Dry run failed,
Is-
invalid.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the thing is that we do dry run in parallel. By default, there are like 4 parallel calls to speed up the dry run because people have like thousands of objects in a Flux customization. And we capture the output from all the threads once one fails. So you'll see at most 4 objects in the enumerated in the error message because we collect them from all from the 4 Go routines. And I think that's why you see cross-plane stuff, external secret, and other thing, because by chance those were being dry run at the same time. And like we do like a collection of all the outputs.
Well,
Yeah,
this
so
error started for sure because someone created this object at v1 alpha 1 when the cluster already had v1 alpha 2 support in it. I'm 99% sure if I delete the object and recreate it at v1 alpha 2, I will never see this error.
yes, but instead of deleting, like, okay, of course, deleting the object is always the best solution
Right, so
if you
is
can
there
afford
edit
it.
with show managed fields? That's what I'm looking at now.
If there's no
So
downtime, great.
yeah, if you can delete it and it's not like destroying your infrastructure, great, you can delete it. The problem, why we added this feature gate and what this feature gate solves, what allows you to do, is being able to go now in Git, set it to v1 alpha 2, don't delete it, set the feature gate, and it should upgrade in place without having to delete it, right? But yeah, if you delete it and then you write v1 alpha 2 in Git, the problem will go away because managed fields are automatically wiped because you delete the object and you recreate it new, right? But for some custom resources, they are attached to whatever external infrastructure, volumes, all sorts of stuff. You can't just delete them and recreate them.
Yeah, let's say if Cube releases a new version, a VI version of some built-in resource.
Will never happen for built-in resources, right? Because built-in resources don't track their version in managed fields.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know.
Like the controller that handles them, it does not track the version. But a Flux apply will. So for us, it's a
Right.
problem. We are still there,
Oh,
right? So this
yeah,
this feature gate still makes sense for anything because we applied.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
or if you do kubectl server side apply, you get the same problem. With client side, I don't think so, because client side, um, it's like a in place replace. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what we'll decide next week is feature gate. If we leave it only as a feature gate, if we were also discussing to have it like a opt-in in the Flux customization spec. So you only enable it for specific customization, like the ones that are applying in your case crossplane. You only enable it there, not everywhere else, where you don't have this issue. It's like because this feature gate has the same logic as the Flux migrate command. And we assume that custom resources that are when we do this patch, we assume that the newer version that we are applying is compatible with the older version. But
Does
maybe
not
the
need
behavior,
conversions.
yeah, maybe exactly. Maybe, by doing this, the new controller has a different behavior for the same field, and that can be disastrous. We never did that in Flux, but who knows? Like, we can't guarantee that this future gate is safe for every single controller out there. It can definitely cause issues if, depending on how the new version of a controller deals with new fields, remove fields, and so on.
But
The
we what we do is we migrate to the desired API version, the one you put in Git, right? So if you upgrade to a controller, for example, that changes the behavior for the field in a breaking way, and you specify that the desired API version is that one that we are migrating to, you kind of know what you're doing, right? Like you
what
you
if the
expect
controller
that.
has a wait? What if the controller has a custom migration hook, right?
Yeah.
We are like completely
Bypassing.
evading that. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So if someone changes the type of a field from integer to string, and you can do this kind of stuff with a conversion webhook. We are creating a patch that bypasses any conversion, anything. We automatically flip the to the new version. It will never go to the conversion webhook because the conversion webhook listens for v1 alpha 1. We have automatically migrated the custom resource to v1 alpha 2. It will not be captured by the hook, and it will corrupt the storage in etcd. Basically, the controller will break. So if you do stuff like changing types, changing the whole structure of your custom resource, enabling this feature gate in Flux can be very harmful because we bypass the conversion hook, and I mean, we shouldn't. We should let the conversion hook do its job, and we don't if you enable this. So
Yeah.
I think that
it's a
if I
double-edged
went through
sword,
the
right?
if I went through the crossplane release notes in detail with a fine-tooth comb, I would find that as they did releases leading up to 2.0, they learned things and they undid mistakes. Like, for example, a later version of the Kubernetes provider no longer has a V1 Alpha 2. It only has V1 Alpha 1. And I think it was because they did the upgrade in a way where it wasn't safe. And people are better advised to upgrade straight from that much older version of Kubernetes provider to the most current release to avoid this issue. What you're saying sounds like there are some places in here where it could get unsafe if you do the wrong thing, and um, I'm not sure the release history for Crossplane is totally clean in this case.
Yeah, but it's strange. They should have like upgrade tests
I'm
to
sure
figure
they
out.
they fixed it in the later version. I'm sure it's better now. Um, it's just when you have compositions that go and touch a dozen accounts or more, you want to be very careful about upgrading them in place. I know there's a way we found in the sandbox already that if you do the upgrade to crossplane pipeline function improperly, then it just drops all your resources, everyone. And as I've uncovered this bug for the first time, I said to myself, wow, I would not have built it this way. But at least now I know how that can happen. It happened in Sandbox. That was good news.
Yeah. Right. Let's see what other things are in the release. Yeah, we bumped Go Git for some performance improvements. No breaking changes there. Should be safe. Um, yeah, and so we fixed the post render conflict in Helm controller by restoring basically the behavior from Helm v3. So what happened was that in v4, Helm now decided to uh, pass to the post render all the manifests, including hooks. And that breaks a bunch of things. For example, if you have in your post render a customized patch that targets a specific object by name, you want to target deployment pod info. And you know deployment pod info is always there. So this patch will never fail to find this target because you have deployment pod info, whatever, in the template. Now, the hooks, uh, if we split the hooks from the templates to not mix the two, when the patch is being applied to the hook, it will fail because the target is not there. So in order to be able to write patches that apply to hooks separate from templates, you need all your selectors needs to be made optional. Instead of saying target in the target deployment pod info, you have to put deployment in parentheses and make it optional. If the target is not there, the patch will be skipped.
I have a question
Uh,
about that. Is this parenthesis thing something that is specific to customize, or is this a magic related to regex or something? Like, is this a feature from customize?
is a regex, right?
So
All
in a
the
regex,
targets.
if you do that, it's how does the matching
So
work in this case?
if you put things in parentheses, then customize itself treats the selector as optional, right?
Mm.
Or because there you can say um, you can target more than one deployment or no deployment if nothing matches the condition. If you don't use parentheses and you use an exact name, then it becomes required, and that target must
So
be there.
so so customize that text. Oh, this is a regex. Then it's optional.
I'm not even sure if it's fully regex or it's a subset. I don't know.
Mm.
Customized docs for this stuff are basically non-existent. So every time I need to use this stuff, I need to read the code.
But that's what makes it work, for example, in Flux Operator. We have some uh patches that target like customized controller and Helm controller with a pipe, like it's like parentheses, customized controller, pipe, Helm controller, close parentheses. And that patch does not error out if you don't have either controllers, for example, right? Like let's say in your Flux instance you don't have customized controller, you don't have Helm controller. Uh, this patch does not break, so it's aligned with what you're saying, right?
Yeah, man, we've been using this everywhere. Like this is how patches work in not only in Flux operator. How we tell people to set up sharding for Flux, how we tell people to set up multi-tenancy. Yeah, like, I mean, this is like a very yeah. So it's the when you have parentheses, it gets transferred to an anchor regex. So it's an anchor. Here the code
So
if you want to read it.
Nice.
I've been reading this code so much that I now can browse it immediately and find stuff. Uh, so yeah, if you want to see how this stuff works, you can read the code here. But it's and
Cool.
everything supports a regex. The kind can be a regex, version, group, everything. The moment it detects it detects that you use a anchor and the anchor is a regex pattern, it flips to that mode, and it no longer does like a resource ID selector, which is group version name. And for group version name, if you don't use anchor or regex anchors, then they have to exist in order to patch it.
Yeah. Yeah. GKNN, right?
Yes.
GK. Cool. Nice. So yeah, we can in Flux 2.9 or I don't know if people ask for it, we can support the new behavior without making it a breaking change. We can support the split or both hooks, right? So right now the fix we shipped is we go back to no hooks in the post renders, and later we can let users choose if we mix hooks or if we split the streams, which is how.
Yeah, so if you mix the hooks and you do hooks correctly where you don't share RBAC or object names with the templates, then mixing the hooks and uh, that means you don't have to change your pose renderers because templates are there and it will work. But if you have a job in the template and a job in the hook and you have target job that does some patching, you are going to end up patching hooks as well. So, which can be very disruptive. Another option is to split them. And if you split them, as I said, you need to make all your targets optional because either they will fail at the hook stream or they will fail at the template stream. Right? So it's like we can't ever flip any of these two modes to be the default. We need to preserve the default no hooks in post renderers and also allow people some option to decide do they want it merged, do they want it split, and document what happens. They need to test it and make it. But I know for sure since years ago, people have been complaining that they want to patch hooks and they can't, right? And
Right.
one of the things that I remember that came out a couple of times, you want to deploy some workload and everything that belongs to that workload on a dedicated node pool, right? With post render, you can inject pod affinity, anti-affinity, node affinity, all the things in workloads, deployment, stateful sets, whatever. But the hooks are jobs. And if the values YAML do not expose all this stuff, it's impossible to patch the job to run on that particular node pool. And that may break completely your setup because maybe all your nodes are tainted. You don't run random things. You dedicate node pools to workloads. So everything has a taint. All the nodes have a taint. So the job will never be able to run anywhere, right? And you can't patch it because it never gets in post render. So for this use case, I definitely think it's worth exposing in 2.9 the option of passing in one of the two ways the hooks to the customized patches.
Yeah. And in this case, we can mirror the values of the Helm
Yeah.
SDK, which is combined, separate, and no hooks.
Yeah,
can
default
just
no
be on.
hooks. If you don't specify it, if you specify it, you can choose between the three,
Yeah.
right? And map it to the SDK enum. Do we
Yeah.
have an issue for this, Mateus?
No, we need it. We need
Yeah.
more.
So yeah, please create an issue for this so we don't forget about it in hand controller.
Mm-hmm. Will
So
do.
also, and this will be available in 4.2, right? We need to wait for 4.2 to be released. Then the SDK will have these options, and then we can map them, write a test that the mapping works, and that's it.
Yeah. And since .2 comes out 2.9, like doesn't really matter. It's 2.9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, I'm opening an issue.
Adrian, any news on the event?
Oh, no, not really. I mean, I was checking a little bit the community calls, the weekly calls, and they have one on Friday, 5:30. I'll try to join that one this week. But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, they're a bit reluctant to have it, or seem so. Yeah.
Yeah. But what we that idea with let's use the old function to send a new payload is not working, right?
No, no, because here that the problem is that I mean with the Flux SDK or the package, we
Mm.
are encapsulating a little bit behind the scenes the annotate event F. So if we are not able to have those um, argument expose like the related object and well and also the action because it's required in the new API, we might not be
Mm.
able to populate that in Kubernetes. So yeah, either we can move to V1, but not leveraging by any means any of the new fields.
One
Yeah.
question. Is
Mm.
this blocking your work with hotel?
Not really, but it will streamline a lot how it fetches the especially the
No,
source
no,
objects.
right. No,
Yeah.
it blocks the thing because we have
Hmm.
a shared struct between what we send to the Kubernetes event and what we send to notification is the same event struct.
Yeah.
To not have to query the cluster from notification control and do discovery of what source is that,
Yeah.
what's the name, what's the namespace, everything.
Mm.
We want to have the source embedded in the event, so notification controller gets all the data it needs to compose the trace, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And
I
the
mean,
problem
But
is, if we add
mhm.
it there, we lose the annotations, and the annotations have all the good things that notification controller depends on, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of trapped into this.
I, I mean,
but
if we
we don't
merge,
need but we
mhm,
don't
yeah.
need the new event API for
No,
this, right?
no, but I
Of
think it will
course.
streamline a lot because otherwise we may have to query the cluster to get the, for example, the source UID object. We might need to query the cluster because it doesn't come in the events um, by any means.
So wait, like so the feature you want to leverage from the new API is that new related
Yeah,
and
exactly,
Yeah.
so you want to do you want to use that new object reference from the new API as the source?
exactly. Refer to the source. Well, but we can think about it. I mean, what would like to add as related, but in principle, it was going to be the source. We can think. I mean, I was thinking about corner
Was
cases. Like imagine that the object is under a customization. The related should be the customization of the source. That could be another question. But this is something that we can decide later on.
Oh, so when a Flux customization emits an event,
Mhm.
the related object of the Flux customization is the source, of course. That's what we do
Yeah,
with the revision annotation, right?
yeah, but imagine that I have a Git repository that is managed by a customization, or should be related. Or imagine that not imagine there is not a source object. Imagine there is a hand release that is under a customization. Then the related object should be either the source or the customization. That's the decision that we should make, I guess, or it should be made.
Well, this example shows me that it's not about exactly one more object that is related. Like you could argue that a Helm release is related to two objects, the source it applies and what applies it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
so that tells me
but
that we do not need to lean so much on this new API, which has exactly one more
Is
object
that
in
an
it,
array? It's just one.
just
yeah,
one.
it's as far as I remember, it's the same as the involve object. It's the same type.
So it's exactly one. So I don't think we need to depend so much on this new feature from the new API.
Yeah, but other
No,
option is what? Encode whole objects in annotations.
We have
mm, mm,
hmm, yeah, the Flux event API is it's not a nested object, right? It's like one level deep only, like map from string to string, or what is it?
It's a Kubernetes event, man. This is what we are saying here. There is no Flux event object. It's the Kubernetes event. It's the same. We are limited to the Kubernetes event struct. So our event object is the Kubernetes event. And we send it in two ways. We funnel like all controllers emit this event, which is compatible with Kubernetes events. It gets sent as a Kubernetes event. And optionally, if you have notification control enabled, if you have an alert set up and so on, it also gets serialized and sent over HTTP to notification controller. Right? And so we can't have a dedicated type for this because it needs to be the whole goal of this is like no matter what, we send a Kubernetes event with all the data we have. Optionally, we also do the HTTP post. Yeah,
yeah.
so
I mean,
this object is copied from Kubernetes. This is how I add it here.
So this is literally a
yeah,
copy of
because but you would like to have
Kubernetes.
parity between the flags that you send to via HTTPS to notification controller and the Kubernetes event that is created, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, in my view, Mateus is partially right in terms of that the event that you send towards the notification controller, you can change it. I mean, it could be changed, but I don't know if that's what we wanted.
Yeah, it would work for notification controller, but it would
Yeah, but
not
not
be
for the
compatible with the
exactly,
Kubernetes schema. Yeah, yeah. So I
exactly.
see the
That's the
problem
thing.
now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's the right time because we are moving from. I mean, with my change in the package and so on, we might be moving from B1, beta 1, I think it is, to B1. Then we are adding new fields. We are not changing anything. I mean, if you would like to add something else, but yeah, if you would like to
So
maintain the parity, no, it shouldn't be.
so the V1 schema has metadata, right? Like what I see here in the Flux docs website and also in our
Mhm.
code
Yeah.
is metadata mapped from string to string. So
Mhm.
events v1 has that field, but the Go libraries don't have a way to pass it. That's
Yeah.
our problem.
Yeah, I mean, you can do kubectl annotate of an existing event, a V1 event. It's there, it's supported.
Yeah, yeah,
What they're debating on Adrian pull request is that why you need it? It's like, if it's
yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah,
why do you care? It's there. Like, you
I
should
mean,
allow me to use annotations because you have metadata annotations in the
you
specification, right?
saw the reply they gave for, oh no, Kubernetes is different, man. Like events need metadata. I don't care what technology it is. If it's an event,
yeah,
structured metadata in an event is a basic feature every event API anywhere should have. And they're like, oh no, Kubernetes is different. No, why?
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, the counter argument that they have is if you, as far as I remember, as far as I recall, it was that they could be that you can have the same event with the new. I think with the new V1, they are managing when you are issuing the same event more than once. It gets, let's say, merged, and it could happen that the metadata you have there, the keys, could be also a bit misleading, and they have to see how to do with the merging. But again, I mean, to me, it's not feasible. That's also was my argument was like you might need to have feature parity. If not, I mean,
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
people
yeah.
that is using
I saw
events
your
is not going
reply.
to
It was
move.
really good.
Yeah,
Stefan's
it's
and
just
yours were really good. Mine was like,
no. I mean, it was good. It was good as well. Yeah, but this guy was kind of on defense mode. Yeah.
yeah.
I
So,
don't think
so
it's a guy.
yeah,
Don't assume it's a guy.
that
Yeah.
person.
Well, that person. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely true.
Uh,
Right.
but okay, but anyway, like, so then I guess maybe we need to discuss because we just said here that maybe it's not one exclusively one additional object reference. It's more than one. And how does that gonna work in the controller's code? Like when I mean it's
So the
always
controller, the appliers always have a source,
correct.
right? That's because that's how we add revision there, right?
Right.
We can say, okay, if the applier, if there is an applier that is issuing the event, the new field with the related whatever should be the source. If it's not an applier, if it's anything else that does not have a source, then the related object, first of all, can or cannot be there. It's not a
Mhm.
guarantee it's there.
It's
Because
optional.
you
Yeah.
can apply with
It's
kubectl or
optional.
Flux.
Exactly. Exactly. If Flux applies it and you have you look up your own labels because you can do that, right? You process, I don't know, your object, you look at the labels, you see that, okay, you are being managed by, I don't know, customization and hand release, you can fill in the related object with the one that manages you, right? So we can definitely have this distinction. We document it and we say, yes, if it's applier, related object is the source. Anything else, related object is optional and only gets filled if that object is actually managed by Flux. What's the value of related objects when is not an applier? We can, say we enrich the data for notification controller and we can decide there what to do with it. We can add it to us to the span of objects that are reconciled from a parent,
I have
right?
two
And so on.
questions. One is why are the appliers of the appliers not relevant? Because, okay, an applier will always be the source, but that applier can also be applied by another applier.
Sure.
So that's one thing that seems to be a valid use case to cover. A second question is, we have relevant appliers in the ecosystem that are not just customization and harm release. We have Flux instance, we have resource set. How
Oh yeah.
are we going in the Flux controllers? Identify those guys.
What do you mean? I mean, if there is
I can have a Git
identify
repo
identify what? The
because you're saying if it's not an applier, we look at labels to see if that object was applied by a customization or Helm release, but it could also be applied by a resource set. Like
oh
I can use
wait
a
wait wait
resource
wait
set
wait a
to apply a
second.
Git repo.
Wait. Let's look a little bit at the event now. Like we have the involved object. Does it have all the fields? What type
Not your
It
is this?
reference.
it has kind, name, namespace of API version, UID.
Mhm.
It's a core v1 object reference.
And this one does not have metadata?
Metadata is
Yeah,
not
well,
involved in involved object. It's in the same level as involved object.
No, man, I'm talking about the type.
yeah, if the object reference does contain metadata, perhaps what you are thinking, Stefan, is to add the annotations there in the object reference. Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
The labels,
Yeah,
not the
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's there.
Mm.
It's a core v1 object reference. It's
Sorry,
API
I have a
version.
call that I have to answer right now. We can keep talking about this.
Yeah, so yeah, I think basically like the questions are, well, an applier of a Flux object is relevant for
Mhm.
everything, applier or not, right?
Yeah,
An applier can
exactly.
be applied by an applier. And
Exactly. So you have the scenario that you have two appliers, the source and the applier on top, or you have just one, which means that you are a source, or a source object.
what?
I mean, it could happen that the object does have two appliers, like the source and perhaps a resource that manage that specific object. That could happen. But on the other hand, you can have that the only applier is the source, meaning that, sorry, that the only applier is a manage, which means that it's a source because a source does not have a source.
Uh, Not every source. We have artifact generator now that has a list of sources.
Oh gosh, okay. Okay. It's getting complex then.
Yeah.
Okay, I
So
see.
there's that. There's the fact that every object can have an applier, regardless if that object is an applier itself or not. And
Mhm,
there's the fact that we have more appliers than just the core ones, which are in
mhm.
Flux operator. Resource set and Flux instance are appliers. So yeah, I guess we need answers for all of that. How the way we plan to do the spans and relationships and everything, do they contemplate multiple relationships like that, or does it have to be one?
I think it is intended to just having an object reference. I think it's the same type of object as involved objects. The related, I mean. Yeah, I think it's the same. I can check that, but
Can you repeat? Did not
yeah,
hear.
sorry. No, what I was saying is like involved object is an object reference, so the related is the same. It's an object. It's a run. Well, it's not. It's a runtime object, which I think you are encapsulating with this core V1 object reference. Yeah.
No, I mean on the hotel side,
Oh,
like on
yeah. So,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Mhm.
where where like the spans and trade, like I
Yeah.
don't know the
Mhm.
quite the right names for hotel, but like
Yeah.
regardless of
Mhm.
what the event payload looks like,
Mhm.
uh the hotel integration that will consume the event payload. Is
Yeah.
it prepared to correlate a bunch of object references together?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that's the
let's
idea.
say a ham
Mhm,
release. A ham release
mhm,
has two, right? Has who applied the ham release and the source of
mhm.
the ham release. Is
Exactly.
that possible to be expressed in OTel?
Uh, to correlate, I mean, a, an span could only have a parent span. So we have to decide whether what is going to be the top level. The idea that I was
Mm,
thinking is, imagine that I have, um, I don't know, a source customization and then another source. What I did is basically if the object does have a label, meaning that it's managed by a customization, the customization is the parent. And then I have kind of the logic depending on if the source is, I mean, if the object is type source or not. There is kind of a, I have it in the pull request. The logic is pretty simple. But just to discriminate when, if an object belongs to a customization, use the customization as parent. If not, rely on the source. Yeah, and there were a
yeah,
couple of
I'm
corner
wondering
cases.
I'm wondering if this kind of dynamic construction of the relationships makes
Mhm.
sense. I can break the collect like the visualization tools or anything. Like
Mm,
let's say for one, there's a Helm release that let's say there's
sure.
this Helm release here and
Mhm,
or yeah, there's this Helm release and
mhm,
you have it has a source. So let's say this Helm
mhm.
release does not have an applier.
Yeah.
It was like applied with kubectl or something.
Mhm.
And then in this case, it has only one obvious object to reference to correlate with, which is the source.
Exactly.
But let's say I have another Helm release that has a customization that applied it. Then
Mhm.
for this Helm release, are we establishing the correlation with the applier, with the customization, or with the source? And
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
are
I
we
get
doing
your
that?
point. I mean, with the current logic will be the customization in that case.
Right. So are the visualization tools okay with this
Yeah, I mean,
dynamic?
the only thing that the visualization to might complain is like if you're, because we are hard coding a little bit the sparse IDs, we have this convention. So the only thing that might perhaps complain is if you are using the same ID. But as we are using the UID plus the revision, it's going to be really difficult. The only issue that you might find is like the correlation or the tree, subtree, etc., is not the accurate or the one that we wanted to have, but they are not going to complain. The only thing is like the tracing is not the expected one or the proper one. Another corner case that I was thinking is imagine that you use a really, I don't know, I think it might seldom happen, but it could happen. That you have, let's say, a collection of nested Gits, customization, Git customization, and at some point, some of the Git source is the source from a Helm chart, for example. You could have that the Helm chart is at top level, and then the other ones are underneath in the whole overall tree. So, I mean, the user does have a lot of freedom to combine the objects. So, in my view, perhaps we should agree on what are the conventions that we're going to follow for the tracing, and that's what we will later state. We can change it later on, but if you agree, of course. But that's what I will go for. I think having this tracing correlation adds a lot of value, especially with larger deployments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, another option to pass the source would be to invent another annotation, right? Where we serialize the source as we do almost everywhere in Flux, where is kind namespace, kind slash namespace slash name. Right? We currently have revision as an annotation. We can add a revision source
Ah, but,
annotation
but you mean if we are
that,
not able to have this event in place, just as an alternative, isn't it? Or
yeah,
yeah.
let's assume it will never get merged into Kubernetes, right? And we are stuck forever on the beta API.
Yeah.
Because we can't get rid of annotations, like that's not an option.
Yeah, yeah, I see.
So assuming we stick with the beta API that has no extra object in there, we
Mm-hmm.
could have introduced another annotation which would become a standard in Flux
Mm-hmm.
called, I don't know, revision source, source revision, whatever.
Yeah,
And have their kind namespace name. Would that be enough? Would that satisfy the issue that you are trying to solve in Otter?
not really, because what I might expect is the UID. That's what we use as the object UID. Yeah,
We also have the UID, of course, in all controllers. We can also add that. So you need the UID and the kind name namespace identifiers, right? You need all four
well,
properties.
the kind of namespace I don't think is needed, perhaps, because when we when we create, let's say, the parentless band, we are recreating the ID, so we don't need. In principle, I don't think we might need the kind namespace and name. With the UID should be enough, as it is unique.
The
Yeah,
involved object does not have the UID, it has it. Okay. So involved object has a UID. So you know how to colorate things, right?
yeah,
When you get the event from the source, you have the UID in the object reference inside the event, in the involved object.
exactly. The thing is, like, I need
Yeah.
the source UID in that case.
You don't even need the name, nothing, just the UID.
Yeah,
Yeah, so worst case scenario, if the PR gets rejected, we can
Use an annotation.
add
Like,
another special annotation, source
yes,
UID,
define a
whatever.
schema for it. Like, go nuts. YAML, whatever.
What?
You like we store whatever format of data we want in an annotation. Like,
Yeah, no. Like what we have today is like all the annotations that we have are not objects, are string, right?
mhm,
yeah.
I'm not for having now objects inside serialized inside annotation. That would be like crazy. If
yeah,
metadata, if annotations is a map of string, we should use string. If we need to add 200 stuff, we are going to add 200 value pairs.
But what are the keys gonna be? I think that's gonna be worse. Like if we take, okay, this special key has a schema. We making an exception for this, and that's probably gonna look better than like a bunch of.
No one cares how it looks, man. No one sees this. It's not about how it looks. It's about the complexity we have to deal with. If we have key value string, then it's easy to deal with it. If we have a string and the value now has to be a serialized JSON because we are not going to put YAML in YAML, then we have a contract. with notification controller, which is yet another API besides the event API, right? It has complexity for nothing. No one sees these annotations. No one has to write them, right?
What are
It's
going to be the keys then?
source UID, right?
You said if we have to add 100 key value pairs there, then we will. What are going to be those keys?
Depending on the situation. Now it's like we are talking about source UID. You added what you added in 2.8.
Ah, right. So, okay, so got
Whatever.
it,
You
got it.
added something. Commit
Commit,
something. Yeah,
commit,
commit,
commit. Yeah,
right?
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we add a key for source ref, a key for applier ref, or something like that, right?
Yeah, source UID, I don't know, manager UID, or however you want to call it.
Yeah, that works.
Doesn't need to be like a struct, because these are also not related in any way because they are optional, right? Not all events will have a source UID. Not all events will have a manager UID or applier UID, however you want to call it. Right? They are like purely optional, like the commit stuff as well that you added. Not all events
Yeah,
have the commit,
yeah.
right? And it's like,
Yeah. No, that's good. Like I was thinking that when you said if we need to add 100 key value pairs, then we will. The first thing I thought, okay, those keys will be like dynamically
yeah, hopefully
created by
we'll
a
never
list of
get to this.
objects or something like that. And then that was scary. But yeah, if like it's actually every key has a special meaning for something, that's exactly what we do. That's fine.
Where do we have somewhere where we have them in one place?
Yes, it's in the package APIs event.
Event metadata. Okay, so now we
APIs
have revision, origin revision,
event view
checksum
metadata.
digest.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 9 so far.
Yeah, we're gonna have like two more or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so that's the
Fine.
only direction if that does not get merged.
Yeah, yeah, but
And
that's
even if
what
it gets
this.
merged, right? As Mateus has pointed out, there is a huge limitation that the related stuff are not an array. And Flux is more complex. It's very hard to choose. What's the related stuff? Is the applier? Is the source? Are the dependencies? Why aren't the dependencies related? Like some people expect to have dependencies there. Like if you depend on other things to happen before you can do it, it's a major
Yeah,
relationship defined there. It's a contract, right?
yeah, no, absolutely.
Ah,
So
uh, artifact generator events. They have a list of sources. How are we gonna do that?
yeah, we need to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, let me show here in the chat the Kubernetes P1 event, just for you to see what the type is. But I think it's an object reference pointer. Yeah, that's the API.
Yeah, and there are like core v1 object reference regarding and related which do not have metadata on them. Right, it's only kind name, namespace, UID. Because if this would have metadata, then that would have solved all our issues. But they don't.
Yeah,
It's
let's see.
related and regarding, right?
Yeah,
Which one is the involved object? Regarding or related?
regarding.
Regarding.
Regarding. Hmm.
Well, sorry, because I need to drop. I have another meeting. Yeah, thanks for the chat, and we'll see what it
Yeah.
unfolds.
All right.
So worst case, we just add more annotations. We
Yeah.
need to figure
Yeah.
out good names for them, put
Mhm.
them in there. And yeah, if we can't switch to the V1 API in upstream Kubernetes, we are going to let it V1 beta 1 as well in Flux package.
Mhm.
There is no point in going to V1 if we can't subscribe to the V1 upstream API, because events have to match, right? So we can only do V1 in Flux package if the pull request gets merged and we can move to the new struct. Otherwise,
Mm.
it's beta
Yeah, there's no
forever.
point. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
not going to be any difference.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Yeah.
All
next
Take
right.
care.
time.
See you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.